An article in the New York Times outlines something that we as working people have noticed over the last few years. Mainly that our wages are pretty fucking flat. And that our money doesn't seem to stretch as far as it should. Now this of course comes into contrast with the latest jobs reports boasting that the jobless rate is now below 6%. See, the economy's fine, mission accomplished, hang the banners. Most regular people, working people, actually get that the job numbers are bullshit, no matter how much you spin them. Because they leave out a lot of information, such as people who have run out of unemployment benefits. And there's a lot of people. Also people who work part-time but want full-time work. And, of course, there are those that have just given up. They're also left out of this whole thing. So with that, I get back to the article appropriately titled, The Great Wage Slowdown. Now in it, writer David Lino points out the disastrous statistic that hourly pay has only risen about 2% in the last year. Now 2%, now that's hardly enough to keep up with inflation. So only 2%. And this is for working people on hourly wages. Now you contrast that to rising salaries of Wall Street, and you see a bit of a problem. Now furthermore, the amount of full-time work has also decreased. According to BLS numbers back from July, only about 47.7% of adults have a full-time job. That's less than half of all adults that have a job, a full-time job. Now, I do realize that some of that is voluntary. Some people do want to take, time to spend with their family. And if you guys can remember the whole Obamacare thing where some people who were only working full-time to get medical benefits now don't have to, right? So, some of that is voluntary, and those are a couple of examples, but the majority of that actually is not. They're not voluntary. They're working part-time because they have to, sometimes 2, maybe 3 jobs. So here's some more BLS data. The amount of full-time jobs have plunged by over 500,000 in June. Exactly 523,000 jobs. That's just in June. But you know how much part-time work has increased? It's increased about 800,000 jobs. Now this makes the total number of part-time jobs in America, and this is back in July, around 28 million. And it now accounts for 44% of all job growth since 2010. Some recovery, huh? At least 7.5 million of those people work low-wage jobs, and they do so involuntarily. They want full-time work, but they just can't find it. And so a lot of these people are working part-time, low-wage jobs now. So you have to look at what that does to overall wages. Well, what does it do? Those bottom 2 lines, those are middle and low-income wages. And they're under that line. They have decreased. You look at the 90th percentile, it's much, much higher. It's quite depressing. So if you're one of those people wondering why Joe McBurger Flipper should get a raise, well, that chart's a good indication why. Because those service jobs are now a huge part of our economy. And if you raise the floor, everyone else ends up getting raised up as well. It's like that old saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. Well, it's time to get lifting.